Hi, I'm Greg Butts. I'm founder of Contractors Wardrobe, and today we're going to share a little history with you about the company and where we've come from and where we're hopefully going.
Hi Greg, it's Ashley. Thank you so much for doing this for us. Our first question today for you is, when did the idea for Contractors Wardrobe begin?
That would be 1972 when I was installing. I really liked the product and I felt that it was something that could be marketed in a real serious manner.
Hi Greg, this is Raul. Is Contractors Wardrobe your first business?
My first business, yes, it was my first real business where I had employees that I had to have a paycheck for at the end of every week. I had to pay rent. The first real business. I had smaller little ventures prior to 1972, but CW was my first serious company.
Hi Greg, it's Annabelle. I have one question for you. Do you remember your first day at work?
I don't really remember my first day at work because I was building the company for quite a few years before we actually incorporated, but I remember a certain sequence of events. June 28, 1976 is when we formally incorporated Contractors Wardrobe. But it wasn't like one day I woke up and walked in the office and opened the front door and went in and sat down.
Hey Greg, this is Mario. Is there a closet door and shower enclosure that is your favorite?
Actually, probably my favorite is the trim line. I like the all-mirror look. Next to that, I would say the Concorde and the Fantasy 4. The reason I say that is those doors are made with hollow tube extrusions. We were the first ones in the industry to produce a wardrobe door with a hollow side style. It just wasn't done. Too expensive, basically, but very strong, very good product.
Hello, Greg. This is Chris. What has been the hardest decision that you've had to make?
Hardest decision? Well, we could talk about this for an hour. Hardest decision was in 1980 when the prime rate went to 21.5%, and basically new construction stopped. Detroit stopped, and I was young and inexperienced and kept a lot of employees and almost went out of business. So the hardest thing for me to do was finally realize that if I didn't cut staff, no one was going to have a job, and we had to lay off about 50% of our people, but that was a hard one, a really hard one.
Hello Greg, this is George. Why do you think team members are loyal to CW?
Well, I think that we have a lot of very loyal employees, I think because in large part they realize that the company is loyal to them. And I say that because employees are pretty smart. I've never sucked all the money out of the company. To the contrary, I've left it in the company so the company could grow in the form of inventory, receivables, and I think in large part employees realize that. So I think that they feel comfortable in that regard and realize that we're here for them.
Hey Greg, it's Joel. What is your advice for entrepreneurs?
Well, my advice for entrepreneurs is very simple. Dedicate yourself 100% to your company. Forget about vacations. Forget about going to the movies. Forget about days off. Dedicate yourself 100%, and that unfortunately even includes not even seeing family for some period of time. You've got to really work, and the answer is work. Every single day, every week, every month, you work. And hopefully, if you have a little street smarts and some common sense, and you're in America, you can build a business and be successful. But you got to work.
Hi Greg, it's Jessica. What does Made in the USA mean to you?
Well, Made in America to me means that I'm supporting the country that is making it possible for me to have a company. In doing that, you likewise support other entrepreneurs that are doing the same thing, some big, some small, but you're supporting your country, you're supporting other, again, entrepreneurs. We're fortunate that we're in the United States because we can work really hard, like I said earlier, and make something of yourself. So we support manufacturing in the country, sometimes to a detriment, because not always does that mean we can buy at the absolute best price. But I think there's a balance, and whenever possible, we buy from suppliers, materials that are made in America.
Hi Greg, this is Nicole. When did you know that you needed a succession plan to keep CW thriving?
I think that probably was sometime around 2010. When I founded the company, I was in my mid-20s, and I was always the youngest guy. And I'm not sure when it happened, but sometime along the road, I went from being the youngest guy to the oldest guy. And I think I realized then that the world was changing. I mean, when I first started the company, fax machines weren't around. I remember we got the first fax machine. That was pretty cool. Cell phones weren't around. So I think around 2010, I realized that the world's changing, and we need younger, fresher blood. And I think the succession plan was to hopefully see if Jared would rise to the occasion, and he most certainly did. So it started in 2010, I would say.
Greg, when you started Contractors Wardrobe, did you ever imagine that 50 years later, we would still be growing and have as much opportunity as we have in front of us today?
50 years? Absolutely not. I think we were putting one foot in front of the other for quite a few years to just hang on and grow the business one more year. I don't think 50 years came into play till again probably around 2010, when I was 60 some years old and thinking of the succession plan. Did I start thinking about that? But it's a privilege to have survived 50 years and profitably for 50 years. So it's great being in America.
Hi Greg, it's Kim. What has been your favorite accomplishment, and what other accomplishments are you trying to attain in the future?
Well, my challenge and what drives me to go in the office for 40 plus years was winning. When you're winning, it's fun. And taking market share is fun, and that's winning. So what would drive me is taking market share from the competition. And we've done quite well at that, but there is still more opportunity ahead, as they say. But yeah, taking market share is my number one joy.
Hi Greg, what would you like your legacy to be at Contractors Wardrobe?
Well, for a legacy, we're at 50 years. I guess my legacy would be to have the company go for 100 years profitably, being loyal to all of our employees, and appreciating all of our customers, because we have some fabulous customers, and if it wasn't for customers, we wouldn't be here. So we have to remember that. So my legacy would be to have the company go on for 100 plus years in a profitable, growing mode.
Hey Greg, it's Bernadette.
Hey Greg, it's Bo. Any last words for the video?
So as we wrap up our video and our little tour, I want to thank you very much for coming. I want to thank again our employees, our fabulous customers. Visit the website if you have any questions. And again, I'm Greg Butts, founder of Contractors Wardrobe, also known as CW. So hopefully we'll see you again real soon. Thank you very much.